Chapter 11, Maria Teresa, March to August 1960, Part 1, pages 227 to 236. Wednesday, March 16th, 55 days. I just got the notebook. Santiclo has had to be very careful this time around. Smuggling is just a couple of things every few days. Security measures are stepped up after the second pastoral, he says. You're safer in here than out there, bombs and whatnot. He tries to say helpful things. But can he really believe we're safer in here? Maybe he is, being a guard and all, but we politicals can be snuffed out just like that. A little visit to La Forti, that's all it takes. Look at Florentino and Papaline. I'd better stop. I know how I get. Thursday, March 17th, 56 days. The fear is the worst part. Every time I hear footsteps coming down the hall or the clink of the key turning in the lock, I'm tempted to curl up in the corner like a hurt animal whimpering, wanting to be safe. But I know if I do that, I'll be giving in to a low part of myself, and I'll feel even less human, and that is what they want to do. Yes, that is what they want to do. Friday, March 18th, 57 days. It feels good to write things down, like there will be a record. Before this, I scraped on the wall with our contraband nail, a mark for each day, a line through a week. It was the only record I could keep, besides the one in my head, where I would remember things and store them. The day we were brought here, for instance, they marched us down the corridor past some of the men's cells. We looked a sight, dirty, uncombed, bruised from sleeping on the hard floor. The men started calling out their code names so we'd know who was still alive. We kept our eyes averted, for they were all naked. I listened hard, but I didn't hear, Palomino vive. I'm trying not to worry about it, as we didn't hear a lot of names because the guards commenced beating on the bars with their nightsticks, drowning out the men's cries. Then Minerva began singing the national anthem, and everyone joined in, men and women. That time Minerva got solitary for a week. The rest of us women politicals were locked up in a cell no bigger than Mama's living and dining room combined. But the real shock was the 16 other cellmates we found here. Non-politicals, all right. Prostitutes, thieves, murderers, and that's just the ones who have confided in us. Saturday, March 19th, 58 days. 3 bolted steel walls, steel bars for a 4th wall, a steel ceiling, a cement floor, 24 metal shelves or bunks, a set of 12 on each side, a bucket, a tiny wash basin under a small high window. Welcome home. We're on the 3rd floor, we believe, at the end of a long corridor. Cell number 61, facing south towards the road. El Rayo and some of the boys are in cell number 60, next to the Guardia station, and number 62 on our other side is for non-politicals. Those guys love to talk dirty through the walls. The other girls don't mind, they say, so most of them have taken bunks on that side. 24 of us eat, sleep, write, go to school, and use the bucket, everything in a room 25 by 20 of my size 6 feet. I've walked it back and forth many times, believe me. The rod in the middle helps on account that we hang our belongings and dry towels there, and it kind of divides the room in two. Still, you lose your shame quickly in this horrid place. All of us politicals have our bunks on the east side, and so we've asked for the southeast corner to be ours. Minerva says that except for closed meetings, anyone can join our classes and discussions, and many have. Magdalena, Kiki, America, and Milade have become regulars. Dinora sometimes comes, but it's usually to criticize. Oh yeah, I forgot. Our 4-footed Miguelito. He shows up for any occasion that involves crumbs. Today I took my turn at our little window, and everything I saw was blurry through my tears. I had had such a yearning to be out there. Cars were speeding east to the capital, north towards home. There was a donkey loaded down with saddlebags full of plantains and a boy with a switch making him move along. Lots and lots of police wagons. Every little thing I was eating up with my eyes, so I lost track of time. Suddenly, there was a yank at my prison gown. It was Dinora, who keeps grumbling about us rich women who think we are better than riffraff. That's enough, she snapped. We all want to have a turn. Then, the toughest thing happened. Magdalena must have seen I'd been crying because she said, "Let her have my turn." "And mine," Milade added. Kiki offered her 10 minutes too, and soon I had a whole other half hour to stand on the bucket if I wanted to. Of course, I immediately stepped down because I didn't want to deny anyone their 10 minutes of feasting on the world, but it raised my spirits so much, the generosity of these girls that I once thought were below me. Monday, March 21st, 60 days. I keep mentioning the girls. I have to admit the more time I spend with them, the less I care what they've done or where they've come from. What matters is the quality of a person, what someone is inside themselves. My favorite is Magdalena. I call her our little birdseed belle. Everybody comes pecking what they want of her, and she gladly gives it. Her ration of sugar, her time at the sink, her bobby pins. I don't know what she's in for, since there's a sort of unwritten courtesy here that you're not supposed to ask anyone, though a lot of the girls blurt out their stories. Magdalena doesn't say much about herself, but she has a little girl, too, and so we are always talking about our daughters. We don't have any pictures, but we have thoroughly described our darlings to each other. Her Amatina sounds like a doll girl. She's 7 years old with hazel eyes, like my Jackie, and light brown curls that used to be blonde. Strange, since Magdalena herself is pretty dark, with quite a kink in her hair. There's a story there, but I didn't dare come right out and ask who the father was. Tuesday, March 22nd, 61 days. I broke down last night. I feel so ashamed. It happened right before lights out. I was lying on my bunk when the call went around, "Viva Trujillo!" Maybe it was that call, or maybe it was all finally getting to me, but suddenly the walls were closing in, and I got this panicked feeling that I would never get out of here, and I started to shake and moan and call out to Mama to take me home. Thank God Minerva saw in time what was going on. She crawled in my bunk and held me, talking soft and remindful to me of all the things that I had to live and be patient for. I settled down, thank God. It happens here all the time. Every day and night there's at least one breakdown. Someone loses control and starts to scream or sob or moan. Minerva says it's better letting yourself go. Not that she ever does. The alternative is freezing yourself up, never showing what you're feeling, never letting on what you're thinking, like Dinora, jail-face the girls call her. Then one day, you're out of here, free, only to discover that you've locked yourself up and thrown away the key somewhere too deep inside your heart to fish it out. Wednesday, March 23rd, 62 days. I'm learning a whole new language here, just like being in our movement. We've got code names for all the guards, usually some feature of their body or personality that lets you know instantly what to expect from them. Bloody Juan, Little Razor, Good Hair. I never could figure out Tiny, though. The man is as big as a piece of furniture that you have to move in a truck. Tiny what? I asked Magdalena. She explained that Tiny is the one with the fresh fingers, but according to those who have reason to know, he has very little to brag about. Every day we get the shopping list from the knocking of the wall. Today, bananas are 5 cents each, tiny brown ones, a piece of ice, 15 cents, one cigarette, 3 cents, and a bottle of milk that is really half water, 15 cents. Everything is for sale here. Everything but your freedom. The code name for these privileges is Turtle, and when you want to purchase a privilege, you tell the guardia in charge that you'd like to throw some water on the turtle. Today, I threw a whole bucket on the creature and bought rounds of cassava for everyone in our cell with the money that Santiclo brought us from Mama. 10 cents a stale round, and I couldn't keep mine down. Thursday, March 24th, 63 days. Periodically, we are taken downstairs to an officer's lounge and questioned. I've only been twice. Both times I was scared so witless that the guards had to carry me along by the arms. Then, of course, I'd get one of my asthma attacks and could barely breathe to talk. Both times I was asked gruff questions about the movement and who my contacts were and where we'd gotten our supplies. I always said, I have already said all I know. And then they'd threaten me with things that they would do to me, to Leandro, to my family. The second time, they didn't even threaten that much except to say that it was too bad a pretty little lady would have to grow old in prison and miss out on, and there was a bunch of lewd comments that I won't even bother to repeat here. The ones they take out a lot are Sina and Minerva. It isn't hard to figure out why. Those two always stand up to these guys. Once Minerva came back from one of those interrogation sessions laughing. Trujillo's son, Ramphis, had come special to question her because Trujillo had said that Minerva Mirabel was the brain behind the whole movement. I'm very flattered that Minerva said, she said, but my brain isn't big enough to run such a huge operation. That worried them. Yesterday, something that could have been awful happened to Sina. They took her into a room with some naked men prisoners. The guards stripped off her clothes in front of the prisoners, and then they taunted Manolo, setting him up on a bucket and saying, "Come on, leader, deliver one of your revolutionary messages." What did he do? Minerva wanted to know, her voice all proud and indignant. He stood up as straight as he could and said, "Comrades, we have suffered a setback, but we have not been beaten. Death or liberty?" That was the only time I saw Minerva cry in prison, when Sina told that story. Friday, March 25th, 64 days. Bloody Juan beats on the bars with an iron bar at 5. Viva Trujillo! And we are rudely woken up. No chance of mistaking even for a minute where I am. I hide my face in my hands and cry. This is how every day starts out. Lord forbid Minerva should see me. She'd give me one of her talks about morale. It's my turn to empty the bucket, but Magdalena offers to do it. Everybody's been so kind about relieving me because of the way my stomach's been. Right before Charo comes, Minerva leads us in singing the national anthem. We know through knocking with our neighbor's cell that our serenades really help raise the men's spirits. The guards don't even try to stop us anymore. What harm are we doing? Minerva asks. In fact, we're being patriotic, saying good morning to our country. Today we sing Adios con el corazón, since this is Miriam's and Dulce's last day, and most of us are crying. I end up vomiting my breakfast of chao. Anything can set me off these days, not that my stomach needs an excuse for rejecting that watery paste. What are those little gelatin things I sometimes bite down on? Saturday, March 26th, 65 days. We just had our little school, which Minerva insists on every day, except Sundays. I guess Fidel said this when he was in prison in the Isle of Pines, and so we have to do it too. Minerva started us off by reciting some Marte, and then we all talked about what we thought the words meant. I was daydreaming about my Jackie, wondering if she was walking yet, if she was still getting the rash between her little fingers, when Minerva asked what I thought. I said I had to agree with what everyone else was saying. She just shook her head. Then we politicals gathered in our corner and we rehearsed the 3 cardinal rules. Never believe them, never fear them, and never ask them anything. Even Santiclo, I asked. He is so good to me, to all of us, really. Especially Santiclo, Sina said. I don't know who is tougher, Minerva or her. Both of them had warned me about getting too fond of the enemy. Sunday, March 27th, 66 days. Yesterday night, Santiclo brought us the last of the contents of Mama's package, including some Vigorex. Maybe now his stomach of mine will settle down. The smelling salts will also help. Mama and Patria outdid themselves. We have everything we need and then some luxuries, that is, if Minerva doesn't give it all away. She says we don't want to create a class system in our cell, the haves and the have-nots. We don't? What about when Tiny gave Dinora a dulce leche as payment for her favors and she didn't offer anyone a crumb, even Miguelito? Minerva gives me her speech about how Dinora is a victim of our corrupt system, which we are helping to bring down by giving her some of our milk fudge. So everyone's had a Bengay rub and a chunk of fudge in the name of the revolution. At least I get this notebook to myself. Or so I think, until Minerva comes around asking if I could spare a couple of pages for America's statement for her hearing tomorrow. And can we borrow the pen, Minerva adds. Don't I have any rights? But instead of fighting for them, I just burst out crying. Pages torn out. Monday, March 28th, 67 days. I left my chow untouched, just a whiff of that steamy paste, and I didn't even want to take a chance. I'm lying on my bunk now, listening to the little school discussing how a woman revolutionary should handle a low remark by a comrade. Minerva excused me from class. I feel like my insides are trying to get out. I've gotten so thin. I've had to take in the waistbands of all my panties and stuff the cups of my brassiere with handkerchiefs. We were fooling the other day about whose were bigger. Kiki made a low remark about how the men are probably doing the same thing with their you-know-whats. First month I was here, I was shocked by such dirty talk. Now I laugh right along with everybody. Tuesday, late night, March 29th, 68 days. I can't even fall asleep tonight remembering Violet's prayers at the close of our group rosary. May I never experience all that it is possible to get used to. How it has spooked me to hear that. Wednesday, March 30th, 69 days. I'm trying to keep a schedule to ward off the panic that sometimes comes over me. Sina brought it up during little school. She had read a book written by a political prisoner in Russia who was locked away for life, and the only way he kept himself from going insane was to follow a schedule of exercises in his head. You have to train your mind and spirit, like putting the baby on a feeding schedule. I think it's a good idea. Here's my schedule. The little school every morning, except Sundays. Writing in my book during guard change, as I can get away with 20 minutes at a time. Also after lights out if there is a bright enough moon. Going to the movies in my head, imagining what is happening at home right this moment. Doing some handiwork. The guards are always bringing us the prison mending. Helping clean up the cell. We got a rotating list of duties that Sina wrote up. I also try to do one good thing for a cellmate every day, from giving Delia massages for her bad back to teaching Belbina, who's deaf, and some of the others, how to write their names. And finally, the thing that gets me the most kidding, I try to walk for a half an hour every day. 25 feet down and back, 20 feet across the back. Where are you going? America asked me yesterday. Home, I replied without stopping my walk. Thursday, March 31st, 70 days. Day by day goes by and I begin to lose courage and wallow in dark thoughts. I'm letting myself go. Today I didn't even braid my hair, just wound it in a knot and tied a sock around it. My spirits are so low. Our visiting privileges were canceled again. No explanation. Not even Santiclo knows why. We were marched down the hall and then brought back. What a mean trick. And it's certain now Leandro is not here with the rest of us. Oh God, where could he be?